And joining us live now to provide some analysis on this latest jobs report is Mark Hamrick. He's the senior economic analyst and Washington bureau chief for Bankrate.com. Mark, thanks again for joining us. Always great to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you, Kate.
So the first question we have is about the labor force, because the numbers are great, but a lot of industries are still struggling to find people to fill their vacancies. And yesterday, employment data showed that the number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits hit the highest level in almost 6 months. So what is the reality here as far as that is concerned? And where is everybody? Where are all the workers?
Well, to the first issue, the supply of labor, there's still a mismatch between the demand for workers and the jobs that are available. So another data set that we got from the Labor Department this week, and that's the so-called Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey, told us there were 11.3 million job openings in this country as of last count, and today we heard that there are 5.9 million unemployed. So many more job openings than there are people to fill those jobs if we go by those numbers. On the unemployment claims, that's another of the economic indicators that is suggesting that we're in good shape if we look at that alone. And so we're still at a very low level on the number of people who are filing first-time claims for unemployment benefits, still at a low level in terms of the number of people who are receiving unemployment assistance broadly. But as we know, and of course the reporter package sort of leaned on this, and that is inflation is kind of the star of the show when it comes to economic data these days, and it's sort of stealing the show in the sense that it's taking the attention away. And indeed, many Americans might be saying, what do I care about the unemployment situation if indeed inflation is the chief dynamic that is weighing on my personal finances and our household?
And interest rates have gone up a couple of times in recent months, so we know that there are plans to continue to raise them. Would the Federal Reserve consider changing those plans given the jobs report? And what is that impact of higher interest rates on this inflation that we're all dealing with still?
Yeah, so the Federal Reserve's mandate is prescribed by law, and that is to work toward maximum employment, a strong job market, and it's essentially checked that box off here, but needs to work toward stable prices. And we've had anything but that, as everyone knows so painfully well. And so the Fed has raised rates 3 times, most recently more than it had in the previous 2, and has another interest rate meeting set at the end of the month where it's expected to do just the same. And what Federal Reserve officials are signaling is that they'll have rates at a restrictive level by the end of the year, and they expect that to persist on through 2024. Now, the reality is that even they will be the first to admit that they can't really predict 2.5 years out, but I would expect that for as long as inflation is as high as it is, the Fed will continue to keep its eye on that part of the mandate, stable prices, and it needs to bring inflation down.
You know, things get to a point where they're so insane that even the smallest things seem like good news. Gas prices dropping to the lowest since the start of the summer, which is a little bit of relief to drivers. The average in Buffalo and Niagara Falls now is at $4.78. It's down 2 cents from yesterday, 8 cents from a month ago, but it's still $1.66 higher per gallon than it was a year ago. So it's not exactly something to cheer about overall. Do you expect things to get back to that, $3.17 a gallon range ever at this point?
Ever is a long time to make a prediction about. I don't expect it'll happen anytime soon, because as we're talking about sort of those basics of economics, the mismatch between supply and demand, the same is essentially true with fuel around the world. Remember, crude oil is priced in a global marketplace. The ability to price crude oil does not end at the end of our shores, and we know that the latest insult to injury, and that's putting it mildly, was Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which has put fuel supplies at sort of a critical level in Europe in particular. Where in Germany they're now rationing electricity, and it's the summertime. So this is a concern. As the reporter pointed out, we are seeing diminishing demand for gasoline, and so if we see that continue, that will add further downside momentum with respect to gasoline prices. And we have coming into this, saw the increase in gasoline prices up 50% year over year. And it's not just sort of all of us who need gasoline. We need the ability to transport goods across the country, whether it's trucking or, of course, ultimately other fuels as well. And that, of course, ultimately includes jet fuel. And so we need for all these fuel prices to come down, but I'm not going to make an aggressive prediction to say we're going to be back to where we were a year ago anytime soon.
It's a lot of things to wrap your head around. We always appreciate your perspective. Mark Hamrick has been our guest tonight. Mark, thanks again.
Thank you, Kate. Great to be with you.